It's over, people. The trial of Kueso, the biggest trial in Jacksonville history, it's over with, okay? And unsurprisingly, he's been found guilty. He's been found guilty of the charges in the murder of Lil Buck. He's still yet to face the charges in the murder of Bibby. And look, the whole Jacksonville drill scene are reacting. Duval County subreddit is going absolutely wild. So let's just get into it, man. It's a crazy day. You know, I don't think anybody is surprised to see this result and see this verdict. I mean, maybe Young and Ace, he said that he thought Kueso would be coming home. But I think the people that really knew about this story knew how this was going to go down, especially after the last few days of testimony. You know, when his father took that stand and pointed out his own son, it was pretty much over with. That's what I said in my previous video. But that doesn't make it, you know, any easier to accept the reality that this is how things played out. And the footage from the courtroom of Kueso receiving the verdict has been circulating on Reddit. It's been on the news. And he is just looking defeated. This is the footage that's been circulating. And, you know, for everybody that knew this story and that knew this scene and knew this situation, you know, it's definitely not surprising. But even Kueso himself looked like he probably maybe had some hope that he was going to beat this.
I'm not sure if it's up to date, but I hear he's shouting.
So this is the footage in the courtroom of him receiving the verdict. And you'll see in a moment when that hits. It's just heartbreaking for him.
Yeah, they might have heard.
And then
Alright, I gotta hit down.
The look of defeat is real. You know, I mean, I really don't think there was any chance that he was ever going to beat this, but seeing it go down and seeing his reaction in court, you know, it just makes it all real. And yeah, it's the last chapter in a very sad story when it comes to the kind of hip hop scene and the drill scene. You know, Jacksonville. This has been a story that's been going on years. You know, I wouldn't say I'm the first person that touched on this, but you know, I was one of the first people to really dig deep into this scene and really find out what was really going on over in those Jacksonville streets. And sadly, you know, this is the unfortunate consequence of you know, of living that lifestyle, man, of really living your raps and rapping about murder and really committing them, you know, really doing the things that you rap about. And I think Kueso, unfortunately, is, you know, going down as a cautionary tale. You know, this is an extended clip of him just getting that news. You know, his lawyer just looking defeated, him just looking absolutely devastated. And really the writing was on the wall when we saw his father testifying against him. You know, it's just a crazy situation all around. You know, I think anybody that's been following this case, anybody that really kind of knew the ins and outs of this scene and of this story, knew how this thing was going to go down. You know, when you're a friend of somebody that's facing charges like this, you know, it's understandable why Young and Ace wanted to kind of, you know, take up for his homie. You know, apparently he had paid a whole lot of money. He said that he went broke in lawyer fees trying to put up a defense for Kueso. And this really was a case that was going to be impossible to beat, if you ask me. The evidence was just overwhelming. You know, even without his father's testimony, you know, you had the dash cam recording of the murder going down. You had all of the songs that he had recorded. You had all of the social media postings that he had put up. You know, that infamous post, "Killer N-word and get my toes done," was just one of the wildest pieces of self-snitching that we had ever seen in the community, honestly. I mean, it was absolutely wild. And it's sad, really. You know, it's really just sad to see how this story ended. This was a guy that clearly was a talented rapper, you know. All of those songs that he made, if you could set aside the disrespect and all of the just horrible things that he was putting out there, he was someone that could rap. He was somebody that had a flow, had some charisma. I mean, again, like, I'm going to get into it in a minute and show you some of the social media posts that have been circulating from the very last stages of the trial. This was a guy with a sense of humor and some swagger and some talent. And unfortunately, you know, it really is a waste. You know, it's a real tragic waste. And this ultimately is how that goes down. You know, it's a lesson. You really can't jump on songs talking about these people that you've actually murdered. It's just not something that's going to fly long run. Whether it's your King Vons or your Fulios on the other side of this war, or Kueso, all of that stuff, unfortunately, you know, all of that nonsense, this is where it gets you. And it's a cautionary tale for anybody else that's kind of you know, coming up in the drill music scene. You know, it's you might have a bright future as a musician, But, you know, as a gangster and as a killer, this is really, you know, the only one of two ways that this thing can go. And there was another clip going down that was going around the Duval County subreddit here. And it said, just look at his body language. You know that he's sick to his stomach, man. Free Kueso. I don't know about free Kueso, but definitely just mourning this situation and just how sad it is for everybody all around. So this is when it was just made official that he was being remanded into custody. You know, I'm not sure this guy will be seeing the outside of a prison cell for the rest of his life. And he's got a whole other murder case to answer for after this, which is just crazy in itself.
For Robinson, based on the verdict of the jury finding you guilty of the offense charged in the indictment in case number 2020 CF 3601, the court does hereby remand you to the custody of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and your bond in this matter shall be revoked. Now, he is entitled to a pre-sentence investigation report. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I will be sure to order one. Again, that takes approximately 30 days to complete, so we'll need to come back for sentencing no earlier than 30 days. When would the parties wish to return? I have the week of August 25 or September 2 for sentencing to be set.
He's finished, man. He's looking tired.
The same week as Mr. Whitaker? Okay. Are you all available to return the week of September 8th? Keep in mind, Monday would be a to-be-set date, and we would set the sentencing on a convenient day that week for all parties involved.
So now we're waiting for the sentencing. You know, nobody is surprised at this news, but let's just take a little look at the reaction on one of the top posts on the Duval County subreddit, because this is humongous news for the Jacksonville scene. You know, this is a scene really that, unfortunately, it blew up off the back of these unfortunate stories of these murders. You know, Who I Smoke, Bibby, and you know, this isn't the Bibby murder. That's coming next. That's going to be his next trial. You know, unfortunately, he's already been convicted of one murder. You know, really, what is another one to him at this point? But you know, this was the post. The verdict is in. And people say, which one of you guys put it on God that he was coming home? You know, Young and Ace was definitely somebody saying that he was going to come home. His people, they were saying he was going to be home by Christmas on that appeal, but that's clearly not the case. You know, people are having a sense of humor about this. You know, people are going to regret all of this stupid stuff when they're sitting in that cell for years on years on years. They're saying he beat himself up in the courtroom. I wish I wouldn't just hopped out. That's true, you know, and as we learned from the trial, there was apparently a more sophisticated plan to try and get this hit done. I don't condone this sort of behavior, but the fact is, as we discussed in the previous video, you know, this was the 1-year anniversary of his brother's, murder, and he just decided to hop out the car and make this happen in the middle of a busy strip mall, in front of a camera, in front of an off-duty police officer. And it's taken a good, 6 years or so for things to come to this point, but it is all over with now. People are saying, who could have seen this coming, right? Why are people acting shocked? I don't think anybody's really acting shocked. I think really it's just almost like the shock of this thing that's been talked about for damn near 6 years at this point. It's the shock of it, actually, it's real now. Now it's actually real. For all of these stories and all of the suggestions, it says here in this comment, it says, people are saying Kueso isn't the shooter, but it didn't take much longer to identify his build. For all of the tall tales and stories about how it wasn't him and how it couldn't have been him, I don't think anybody was really buying that. And somebody has actually created a list here of all of the things that they knew before the verdict happened. Okay, it said he went live with the same outfit that he killed Lil Buck in, and he rapped about it, and he took his phone with him to the hit, and he was FaceTiming people during that day. He proceeded to run through a parking lot filled with witnesses and cameras just to stand over his victim. He started calling himself Kueso, make your face go, after shooting this person's face off. He shot a music video with the very same gun that he would use in this murder. He hinted at committing this murder several times, and he also killed Bibby and rapped about it in damn near every song. Now, they're saying in the comments, look, we knew all of this before it happened. All right. And people saying, I ain't going to lie, he couldn't rap, but still, I actually think he had some potential as a rapper. Some of those songs were hard. People saying Back to Back and Steady Banging are some good songs. They make you feel that energy. People are saying that made you feel that exact energy that landed this man in life in prison anyway. Let's throw the whole discography out. Now, I don't believe that. I'm not somebody that feels like you should, get rid of people's music because of the bad things that they've done in life. Whether it's XXXTentacion, R. Kelly, at the end of the day, look, we still might turn up to an R. Kelly song, even though that he is a piece of trash. Okay, and at the end of the day, these KSoo songs, they're lessons. They're time capsules. They're snapshots of a situation, of a life that was being lived that shouldn't be followed. There's definitely a few R. Kelly songs that you go back and listen to, and you definitely say that's definitely some of those things that he's putting out there. That's a lesson of not how to conduct yourself in life. And, that's the unfortunate case. These songs are now evidence. They're now public record of a life that really you shouldn't be living. And we're all waiting for the sentencing. People are speculating. They're saying he's definitely getting life. If he doesn't beat that other body, he might even be getting the death penalty. Florida doesn't play, and they're saying that he's cooked. People are saying, I wonder how young and Ace is feeling. People are saying Ace is probably feeling as stupid as hell because he wasted all of his money on their lawyers, and they were still found guilty. I'm not going to lie. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Knowing the facts of this case, I would not have put a penny towards this man's lawyer. That post that we just saw a minute ago detailing everything that we already knew before the trial even started, we knew all of this had gone down. Look, I would have invested my money quicker with FaZe Banks than I would have invested in KSoo's lawyer. That's all I'll say, man. That's all I'll say. People thinking he's definitely getting life, it's very sad. I mean, it's really sad for the victims, for the young people that are coming up in Jacksonville. People saying it's hard to feel bad for him. He killed somebody and was self-snitching in every song. He did it to himself. Finally, somebody who gets it. He literally asked for this. They probably would have just chalked it up to gangs killing gangs like usual if he didn't chase it so much and didn't open his mouth dissing the dead and claiming the work. People said the crime was too sloppy, too many moving parts, too many people involved, and too public. That was broad daylight in a plaza. Police were always going to solve that, and it looks bad when you do stuff out in public like that. Had this happened somewhere off 45th, he probably doesn't even get charged. He crashed the F out on camera. People are comparing it to the O Block 6 situation, saying, look, if you involve white people and you do these drills in locations where people are conducting business, this murder was happening at a strip mall. People were doing commerce. And I'm not trying to belittle the murders that happen in the hoods and in the tough environments where, a lot of people coming from these situations live. But at the end of the day, you gotta use your brain. If you, in the Duck situation, you went and shot up Dolce & Gabbana, okay? And realistically, whether or not you believe the police are really sticking up for and trying to solve crimes in the community, you know damn well for sure that you can't be catching no bodies outside the Dolce & Gabbana store, and they're not going to go and solve that. This was a bit more of a low-rent strip mall that this murder happened in, but at the same time, the cops ain't going to have that, okay? And then he's still got the Bibby case. People saying that he's dying in prison. It's very sad. And it's not just KSoo, okay? Co-defendant and accomplice, ATK Scotty, also was found guilty of first-degree murder. People saying this is just a normal day for all of us, but Scotty just lost his life. People saying real stuff. I'm about to head to work. I'm off for the weekend sitting on my bed chilling. I might even go and exercise. This is the best life. And this, I think stuff like this, man, it really just makes you grateful. I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful that I'm not dealing with these situations. I'm grateful that I'm not dealing with a life sentence. That video of KSoo receiving that sentence is deep, man. I can't imagine what's going through his head at that moment. And I'm so grateful that, I'm not coming from that environment. For everything, everyone likes to say, Ross isn't from that background. Ross isn't from the culture. Yeah, fair enough. But at the same time, look, I don't pretend to be from that culture. I don't perpetuate that I'm from that culture. I don't pretend like that culture's cool. I don't promote that. I don't think there's anything cool about what KSoo did and what he's facing now. And I'm truly just grateful that isn't what I'm dealing with. And I think everybody, whether you come from a harsh environment or not, we all got to be grateful that we're not in that situation. And at the end of the day, accountability is important. Accountability is important. And at the end of the day, KSoo's got to stand on the things that he did. Not only did he do those crimes, but he made all of those songs. And he did all of that dissing. I mean, there's a funny comment here, not to kill the tone, but this guy say exactly, I'm finna get some pussy as we speak. I'm glad I'm not in the streets. It's a whole world and too many females out here to be throwing your life away like that. Imagine being locked up in a box with other men for the rest of your life and being unable to experience pee. Sucks to be him. I mean, I don't think they think about the consequences they're living day to day. I mean, it's true. I'm not even trying to make light of it, but this man is getting no pee for the rest of his life. It's not happening. His father, Blue, is gonna be out here getting more pee than KSoo. It's very sad, man. But even more sad, just to follow on from what I was saying about, being genuinely grateful that I don't come from that life, whether it's about race, whether it's about class, whether it's about finances. You know, I am grateful that I'm not from this environment, but at the end of the day, Kueso's got to take some responsibility for what he did. And he made this post. I don't know if he made this, someone from his team. I don't know how this post was made. Clearly, I doubt he's got a phone. From what I understand, UK jails, you can have a phone, but over there in Jacksonville, Florida State Correctionals, or whatever, I don't even know what they call it, man. I'm going to have to hit 1090 Jake. I don't think you get no phone. So I don't know who made this post. But if anything, I actually think this post is in bad taste and low-key almost disrespectful to the actual victims. So it was posted to Kueso's official Instagram account. It said, I had an all-white 12 jurors with 3 white state attorneys with a white judge in a white courtroom with all white judges on the wall. Every black person that I could pick on my jury was struck by the state. I just showed the whole world how Jacksonville, Florida is corrupt, and my lawyers proved I was innocent. God got the last say-so. Now, I think it is quite sad and disingenuous. There's been a lot of these cases in these situations where, you know, guys have gone down getting ridiculous football numbers for crimes that they've committed, and then they want to kind of play the race card. And at the end of the day, I'm a white man, and I certainly don't deny the fact that institutional racism exists. Arguably, look, forget what he's saying here because this is nonsense, right? But I definitely agree that there's definitely institutionalized reasons that young black men like Kueso growing up in these environments really don't get a fair shake at life. Even the situation with his father. Forget the fact that his father snitched on him, right? Let's set aside the fact his father snitched on him. His father was in the streets. His father likely did encourage him to wage war, to get back for his brother, to do all of these things. And unfortunately, you know, whether you could say, I mean, it's not even a case where you could say lack of role models, right? Because Kueso grew up with a father, but his father was in the streets and his father seemingly was involved in the situation. But it's incredibly disingenuous to have a black man who took the life of another young black man far before his time and to have bragged about it endlessly. And allegedly, that's not the only black person that he took the life of. And it's just very sad to see him kind of go down crashing and burning in court and then to kind of blame racism at this point. I totally agree that there are institutionalized reasons why people in the black, impoverished inner city communities in Jacksonville really aren't getting a fair shake at life. You know, why wasn't Kueso born into a situation where he was encouraged to go to law school, to become a doctor, to become any other number of things? And I think that's a fair comment. But to say he had an all-white juror, all-white judge, I mean, I'm pretty sure Kueso had white lawyers on his case too, right? That guy that was sitting next to him at the start of this video when he received the verdict was a white man too. So it's a little bit unfair. And it's just a little bit disingenuous, and it really just goes to that lack of accountability, unfortunately, that we're seeing from Kueso as an individual. And you can see this in the comments. They're saying a black man killed a black man and was snitched on by his black father and black homie, but it's the C word's fault. All right? That part. Dudes will sit there bragging about killing his own kind, and then he wants the black community to feel sorry for him. Like, come on. Dudes love to brag about being a killer, but once they're treated like one, it's racist or discrimination. Beware what you ask for, or you just might get it. People saying, hey, Courtroom, Twin needs to pick up a book. I mean, bruh. People are saying stage 1, denial. How about don't commit crimes? His lawyers did not prove his innocence. Maybe don't leave evidence in the getaway car. And people are saying if there were 12 white jurors, it means that his white lawyer was trash. And maybe his lawyer was trash, but realistically, this really isn't a case that was beatable. Okay, you could have the whitest albino lawyer in the goddamn universe. He was not beating this because it ain't about race. It ain't about race. It's a black suspect and a black victim, and that's just how it is. Now, if you want to ask a question about why there's so many white people in that courtroom in the high levels of society, and why there's so many black people in the courtroom being accused of crimes, that's another question, and that's a line of thinking that I'm open to. But I thought this was disingenuous. And just on that note, you know, just to put the final nail in Kueso's coffin, man, there's a whole bunch of videos that have been going around just reinforcing and reminding everybody just how reckless he had been in the lead up to this. So before the verdict even came in, we actually saw this video, which I had never seen before, for all of the talk of, oh, that wasn't Kueso in the video, and, you know, who knows, you couldn't see his face, that could have been anyone. Well, they actually showed right before the hammer came down, there was a video of Kueso on IG Live talking crazy whilst wearing the outfit that was used in the murder. Now, I'd never seen this before. Now, we can barely see this. It's a tiny little, you know, recording on a screen. We don't have the full assets that we used in court, but you can see there, you can get the gist, and you're going to be able to see he's wearing the same fit that was used in the murder. And let's turn the sound on for this just in case there's something interesting that he's saying here. You know, this is damning. In addition, like, he was completely cooked. You had all this evidence, and then it's like every day there's just a new thing that just looks ridiculous. In the same fit, in the same outfit as the murder was committed in. It's just absolutely outrageous. You know, he's stepping back from the camera. He's showing you the entire fit. It's just no good. You know, you're doing that. You're getting your toes done and tweeting about it. It was over before it even started, unfortunately. And not just that, a bunch of other clips of him incriminating himself have gone around. I hadn't actually seen this clip before. They're saying he's so fried, the judge is going to give him life just off of this video. And I think this might have just been circulating just before the verdict came out. But again, it's just another incredibly disrespectful video. This is more concerning the Bibby situation. And I know some people were sort of acting like I was confused. Look, I know that the Bibby trial is coming next. But at the end of the day, all of that evidence, all of that self-incrimination that you saw in the Lil Buck trial, he's incriminated himself even more. I'll be real. If Kueso even has like a shred of dignity left, he would switch his plea to guilty on the Bibby trial. You know, that if he switched his plea to guilty on the Bibby trial and then takes his sentence in the Lil Buck trial, he might just be able to swerve the death penalty. That's the best he can hope for at this point, because look at this clip.
Yeah, baby! That's what Bibby did!
Listen to what he's saying, all right? Listen to what he's saying there. He is on a yacht, all right? He is on a yacht. This should be a nice day. He's miles away from the hood that he's waging war in, and that he's, you know, risking his life every day just being outside in. He's on a yacht, and rather than enjoying his different surroundings, all right, got the pineapple shorts on, looking fresh, he's laying on the floor and reenacting how Bibby, his alleged victim, was killed. He's saying, this is what Bibby did. Yeah, this is Bibby. Crazy.
Yeah, baby! That's what Bibby did!
It's really, you know, it really is a laugh now, cry later situation. And, you know, I don't doubt that he's in the cell bawling his eyes out at this point, because this just got real. You know, for all of the talk that he was coming home, you know, and now I feel like the reality is probably only just setting in with him right now. And, you know, these little moments when you look how happy he is in this video. Look how happy he's having a great time in this video, man. And, you know, you're living on borrowed time, really. You're living on borrowed time, man. It's honestly just, it is sad. It's sad for everybody. And there was plenty more. This was the famous video.
I'm in the air with Bibby. I'm flying with Bibby. Bibby, I'm flying.
Not only is this just like completely chilling that you would make something like this, but like this is the state. I mean, we're in this such a weird era of gangbanging and murder that you got guys jumping on TikTok, making animated little funny videos of them flying through the air, mocking their dead enemies. Like, it's just bizarre.
In the air with Bibby. I'm flying with Bibby. Bibby, I'm flying.
You know, I honestly, I just don't even know where the discourse in these streets is going to go from here, because you think you've seen it all, and then you just see stuff like this. And so this is another one going around. People are saying this is Kueso showing fans how to speedrun getting life in prison, and this is just another one of those incriminating videos where, you know, he used one of his famous catchphrases and he pulled the strap.
Yeah. You see a hop like this. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Let me stop. I don't do none of that.
He's letting people know what he's doing, man. Just say it. Just because you said at the end, I don't do none of that. That's not what it is, man. So look, people were making a lot of jokes, okay? And look, I'm really not trying to make any light of this, but look, people were making jokes. People are saying, look, them boys are cooked. Young and Ace has got to bust through them prison walls and free them boys superhero style. I mean, yeah, it's very messed up, man. And I think Young and Ace, you know, for everything that he was saying about, you know, he's coming home and all of this stuff, man. You know, I've no doubt Young and Ace is also feeling heartbroken. You know, this was one of his close friends. This was his alleged shooter. But at the end of the day, I feel like this is an opportunity for Young and Ace to maybe grow up a little bit and just maybe realize that, you know, this is the reality of this war that he's perpetuated. You know, ATK is Ace's top killers. This is his gang. This is his crew. This is his intrinsically street situations tied to his music career in a way that unfortunately he's never going to be able to escape from. So I don't know if the rumors of him actually blowing all of his wealth trying to get a defense for Kueso is true. I truly hope not. I would like to think that he probably made a lot of money in the music industry. You know, that Who I Smoke song was a massive hit. He's had hit albums. I'm not sure if he signed a major label deal at any point, but it would be really sad if he really decided to hinge his success and his finances on the back of somebody like KSoo. But if he did, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's an idiot. You know, if he really has gone broke trying to buy KSoo a defense for this in the midst of all of the evidence and nobody knew what was going on in the streets more than Young and Ace, he's a damn fool. And just the last thing that I want to leave you with on this is to just set aside the jokes and just take things really serious for a minute, because this circulated on the subreddit, and I thought this actually spoke to me. This was a clip that was posted just before the verdict was circulating. And this is Lil Buck. This is the victim in this murder trial, okay? The St. Bibby, this is Lil Buck with his daughter, one day before KSoo took his life. And I think just seeing stuff like this really drives home the human cost, because it's all well and good doing a rap beef and you're smoking this person, you're smoking that person, you're disrespecting this and that and the other. But really what this is the last moments that, a little girl got to spend with her father before, just a reckless individual who just had an absolute grudge. He was just hell-bent on catching a body, committing a murder that very day to avenge his brother. And really, this is the human cost. This is a daughter that's grown up without her father, and these are the last moments that they got to share. And this is why there ain't no free KSoo. It's truly sad. And I just feel like it's definitely, it's definitely just real. Seeing stuff like this just really makes it real. It's the consequences that you're not going to see, the sadness that is going to be going on off camera is incomprehensible. Okay, at this point, and this is what we have to remember. People are saying there's no winners in this stuff. All right. There's no winners in this stuff. People are saying, I feel bad for her, but geez, why do you do things knowing you have someone to take care of? But people are saying Buck did not deserve this. He had one diss and he died applying for a normal job. Like, he was applying for a job in a temp agency when KSoo jumped out of that car and killed him in front of everyone. People saying he ain't deserve it. That's true. Those guys were overly mad. They just lost their brother and they were trying to get anybody. All right. It's really sad. At the end of the day, I think things like that are just really important, okay? It's a really sad conclusion to the Jacksonville story, but at the same time, that's what's got to happen, man. You can't be doing that. You can't be behaving like that, for all of the songs and all of the bravado. This is what had to happen. This is the right outcome. I doubt Lil Buck's family are going to be feeling justice. I feel like, yeah, it's all well and good, but the damage is done. There's not really anything that's going to bring him back. There's not really anything that they could do. I mean, even giving KSoo the death penalty, I don't know. I can't imagine what it's like to go through that, to lose a loved one and then have the person that did it get the death penalty. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that really remedies the pain that you feel. But I think I speak for everybody in this music scene when I just say that this just highlights just how senseless this stuff is. And this highlights the reality behind the music. So there you have it. That's not the final chapter, but that's definitely one of the concluding chapters of this whole Jacksonville story. We saw Fulio lose his life. We've seen just so much death and destruction and sadness and arrests, and some of the most popular rappers in Jacksonville that had a big chance of getting out, going to jail over just nonsense, and it's very sad. So, I hope everybody finds something to learn from this. I think that I'll be doing a kind of bigger follow-up on the Jacksonville drill scene. People have been on my case for months and months and months saying you need to do the Jacksonville part 2. I am going to do it. I actually did start it at one point and I stopped it. I do feel like maybe now is the time. What with the Fulio situation being so sad and what that was, what with this whole KSoo trial concluding, I don't think I need to wait for the Bibby trial to go down to know how that's going to go. And like I said before, I think if KSoo actually has a sense of self-respect and just wants to maintain maybe that last little bit of dignity that he's got, I think he probably should go for a guilty plea on the Bibby murder, because at the end of the day, you've already been found guilty on this one, and I'm not going to lie, the evidence in the Bibby murder might be even worse than this. Who knows? But yeah, I hope you found that update interesting. I'll keep you guys posted on the next couple of videos. I actually spoke to Top 5 today. I had a little phone call with Top 5. I've heard from him. We had some words. I won't say what was discussed, but just stay tuned for a very big update, and we might be hearing from the man himself very soon. I'm very, very excited to hear what he's saying. As I told him, I'm just so glad that he's doing okay. I'm so glad that he is alive and well and thriving. He seemed very good to me. He seemed well, and I'm just excited to see what's coming from him. So shout out to him, and thank you for tapping in, and I'll keep you updated on all the latest stories as they come. I appreciate you guys. Tap in with you very soon, and main channel video coming imminently. Stay tuned for that. Catch you in the next one. Peace.